It's pretty wild to think that so much of modern AI, everything from GPT-4 to Llama, all comes from a single research paper dropped back in 2017. That paper, Attention is All You Need, didn't just improve things, it completely blew up the old way of doing things. It introduced an architecture so elegant and scalable that it's still the foundation of everything we're seeing today. So what we're going to do is build that very architecture, piece by piece, from the ground up, to really understand the engineering genius that sparked this whole revolution. So here is the plan. First, we'll look at the old world of recurrent neural networks to see why we needed a change. Then, we'll get into the absolute core of the breakthrough, the attention mechanism. After that, we'll actually assemble the full transformer engine. From there, we'll see how a version of this architecture, the decoder-only model, led to the GPT series. And finally, we'll dive into how these massive models are actually trained today. All right, so before 2017, if you were doing anything with sequences like translation or text summarization, you were almost certainly using a recurrent neural network, an RNN, probably an LSTM or a GRU. And for years, they were the absolute state of the art. But they were built on this idea of processing things one by one, in a sequence, and that created some really serious bottlenecks. The difference in how these models work is just night and day. An RNN reads a sentence one word at a time. It keeps this little memory, this hidden state, that it updates with each new word. But that means you can't parallelize it, right? You have to wait for step one to finish before you can do step two. Transformers? They just threw that whole idea out. They look at the entire sentence all at once, in parallel. And that simple change unlocked the insane power of modern GPUs. Now, this one-by-one design had two huge problems. First, it was just painfully slow. But the bigger, more fundamental issue was memory loss. When you're training a really deep RNN, the information from the beginning of a sentence gets weaker and weaker as you go. They call it the vanishing gradient problem. It made it almost impossible for the model to connect a word at the end of a long paragraph to something that was said at the beginning. And for understanding language, that's a fatal flaw. So the field desperately needed something new, a way to process sequences that was fast, parallel, and didn't forget what happened 100 words ago. The solution was this incredibly elegant idea called self-attention. And this wasn't just a small improvement, it was a total paradigm shift. We went from this fragile sequential memory to a robust network of direct connections between words. What self-attention basically does is let every single word in a sentence look at every other word in that same sentence all at the same time. For any given word, the model calculates a set of attention scores to figure out which other words are most important for understanding its context. The key is that these connections are direct. The first word can talk directly to the last word, no problem. Okay, the best way to really get this is with a database analogy. For every single word, we create 3 different vectors: a query, a key, and a value. The query is basically the word asking, what kind of information am I looking for? The key is like the label on a file saying, here's the kind of information I have. And the value is the actual information inside that file. The model just compares every query to every key to see how well they match and uses those match scores to create a weighted average of all the values. So here's how that famous scaled dot product attention actually works. You take the dot product of your query matrix and your key matrix to get raw similarity scores. Then, and this is a really crucial little trick, you scale those scores by dividing by the square root of the dimension of the keys. This just helps keep the gradient stable during training. After that, a softmax function turns all those scores into a nice probability distribution where everything adds up to 1. And finally, you multiply those probabilities, your attention weights, by the value matrix. The result is a new representation for each word that's now packed with context from the entire sentence. This one mechanism was so powerful, so effective, that the authors basically said you could build a world-class translation model with nothing else. No recurrence, no convolutions, just attention. Turns out they were absolutely right, and it changed, well, everything. Okay, so we've got our core component. Self-attention solves the big RNN problems for sure. But of course, it creates a few new engineering puzzles of its own. So let's see how the rest of the transformer is built around it to solve them. Right, so if attention just looks at all the words at once like they're in a big bag, how does it know the original sentence order? It doesn't. We lose all that sequential information.
The solution is something called positional encoding. It's a clever trick where, before anything else happens, we add a unique vector to each word's embedding. This vector is generated using a bunch of sine and cosine waves of different frequencies, and it gives every single position in the sequence a unique signature that the model can learn to recognize.
But think about language. It's so complex. In one sentence, you have syntax, you have semantic meaning, you have pronouns referring to nouns. How could one single attention calculation possibly figure all of that out?
Well, the answer is it doesn't. Instead, we use multi-head attention. Think of it like having a team of specialists. Instead of doing one big attention calculation, we do several smaller ones in parallel. The original paper used 8 of them. Each of these heads can learn to focus on a different aspect of the language. So maybe one head gets really good at tracking verbs and their subjects, while another focuses on semantic relationships. Then you just combine all their findings at the end to get a much richer, more complete picture of the text.
And finally, how do you stack these layers super deep, which is what we do for modern LLMs, without the training process just falling apart? Well, that's where 2 other components come in: residual connections and layer normalization. You can think of them as the unsung heroes of the architecture. They're basically the plumbing that makes sure gradients can flow all the way back through 100 layers, keeping the whole network stable. Without them, training these incredibly deep models would be practically impossible. So the original transformer was this 2-part thing, an encoder and a decoder, built for translation tasks. But then came this huge realization. For a lot of tasks, especially just generating text, you don't need the whole thing. You only need the decoder part. And that single insight is what kicked off the whole era of generative pre-trained transformers, or as we all know them, GPT.
Now, encoder-decoder models are still great for certain things, but it was the decoder-only architecture that really took over for large language models. Its goal is just so simple and so powerful. Predict the next word. That's it. It turns out that if you train a model to do just that on enough text, it learns language, facts, and reasoning in a really general way. This is the exact blueprint for all the big names today. GPT-4, Llama, Claude, they're all decoder-only models.
The key engineering trick that makes a decoder work is something called masked self-attention. It's really simple. During training, you just apply a mask that prevents any word from looking at the words that come after it in the sequence. It can only see the past. This forces the model to learn how to predict the next word using only the context it's already seen, which is exactly what you want when you're generating text one word at a time. It enforces what we call causality.
So we have the architecture, but how does a stack of matrices and math actually become a model that can write code or explain a joke? Well, the answer is the modern LLM playbook, a 2-stage training process done at a scale that is just mind-boggling, and it's all governed by a set of predictable rules called scaling laws.
Stage 1 is pre-training. You take a giant model and just have it predict the next word on trillions of tokens from the internet. This is where the magic happens, where it learns all its raw knowledge and reasoning skills. You end up with what's called a base model. Then comes stage 2. Alignment. This is where you take that raw base model and fine-tune it to be a useful, helpful assistant. This is where techniques like reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF, come in to teach it how to follow instructions and align with what we actually want it to do. And the scale we're talking about is just immense. GPT-3 was famous for having 175 billion parameters. But what we've learned since then, from research like DeepMind's Chinchilla paper, is that it's not just about having the biggest model. It's about finding the perfect balance, the optimal scaling of your model size, your dataset size, and your compute budget. GPT-3 was trained on around 300 billion tokens of text. That sounds like a lot, right? Well, modern models like Llama 3 are trained on over 15 trillion tokens. The scaling laws basically showed us that for the same amount of money, you're often better off with a slightly smaller, smarter model that's been trained on way more high-quality data. That insight is now driving the entire industry.
But for all its incredible success, the transformer architecture has a new bottleneck. That attention mechanism, the thing that made it all possible, has a computational cost that grows quadratically with the length of the sequence. So if you double your context window, you quadruple the cost of attention. This O of n squared complexity is the #1 thing stopping us from, say, feeding a model an entire library of books. It's also why there's a huge explosion of research right now into more efficient attention methods, like flash attention and even totally new architectures. And that really brings us right to the present day. The transformer brilliantly solved the RNN's long-distance memory problem, but it traded it for this quadratic compute bottleneck.
And that leaves us with the billion-dollar research question. As we push towards million-token context windows and beyond, is the solution a cleverer, more efficient version of attention, or will a fundamentally new architecture, maybe something like a state-space model like Mamba, be all we need next?